Okay, name and power.
I'm Gas Master.
Okay, and what do you do, Gas Master?
I release disaster from within my intestines on my enemies, so I fought on them.
Now, would you consider these like extremely powerful farts? Are they above average farts?
I'd say they're pretty powerful and unique farts. I mean, I do all kinds of farts. Wet farts, dry farts, chunky farts, sharts, all kinds of farts.
All right, well, if you could just let me get an example of one of these.
Yeah, get ready for this. You ready?
I don't know that I am.
Okay, here we go.
I'm impressed. I don't know if I'd be able to utilize it, so I think I might have to pass on the gas.
Well, that's your mistake. I'm gonna crop dust on the way out. Hope you like it.
Okay, who's up next? Name, power. Hey.
You all right?
You lost?
I'm in the right place. I thought this was the dance competition.
Okay. Not sure. Who's up next? Hey! Are you looking for the auditions?
I just work here. I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't want to come, you didn't want to audition?
No, man. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
No big deal. All right, who's up next? Michael, dude, I told you this Halloween season's over. You're good to go. Thanks, though. I appreciate you still showing up every week. All right, who's next? Name, power?
Hero auditions. Yeah, I'm a nurse, actually.
But do you have, this is for, superheroes?
I can bring people back to life, actually. So does that count?
I am sorry.
I think it counts.
Realize you are a hero, obviously.
It's pretty great.
Yep.
Yeah, they're dead and they come back.
You know what? You're on the team. More than welcome.
And I won't kill you in surgery.
All right. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Dan. No superpowers, but I could do the review.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Tavern Talk. I'm Philip, and joining me this week is Mr. Dan Murrell.
Hello.
Hey.
Thanks for the first time. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Obviously, Dan has his own YouTube channel, Dan Murrell Movies.
Dan Murrell Movies.
Dan Murrell Movies.
Someone else had Dan Murrell, so I had to take Dan Murrell.
Oh, I almost
Movies.
said Dan Murrell at the movies, so I didn't want to ape Roger.
I think the ghost of Roger Ebert would come and get me.
I'm already aping their style a little too much. But no, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And especially appreciate you coming out for a new MCU movie. This week we are talking about Eternals. It is the new movie, not only the new MCU movie, but the new Chloe Zhao movie. Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao, director of Nomadland and The Rider. And ton of stars, ton of people in this, a lot going on thematically, plot-wise, all kinds of things. But kind of the bit here is that we just watched it, just came out of the theater. Mm-hmm. What is your initial reaction to Eternals?
Wow, that's a heavy question. I have to say, generally, I am a big fan of the MCU. As long as I've been reviewing MCU films, I've only given one a negative review.
Yeah,
that's going to be two. I've got to say, I was talking it over with my girlfriend Mara in the car, and we both kind of agreed that it was sort of hamstrung by being in the MCU because it's full of these big ideas and ambitions and stuff, but it doesn't fit at all with anything. And I think you can do something different.
Right.
But it's just it's one of those movies that it would have been like a $150 million write-down, a big sci-fi idea if they hadn't stuck Marvel in front of it, because there's I thought that the kind of attempts to tie it back to the Marvel universe were somewhat laughable. Mm-hmm. I found it pretty dull, if I'm being honest. It's 2.5 hours long. It feels 2.5 hours long. I respect the ambition. Yes. It's a gorgeous looking movie, but it did not entertain me very much, I have to say. I'm sorry to say.
I know. That was kind of my thing too, because I'm just overall very conflicted about everything that is going on in this movie. The scale of it, and like you said, the visual stylings, it is still very much like Chloe Zhao's kind of style, down to earth, like the colors, the tones, everything is there for that. But then at the same time, I'm just like, there's so many characters and there's so much that it is trying to encompass that I just was like trying to find where to focus at. It didn't latch onto a specific thing to kind of explore. It was just doing it all the things.
Yeah, I kept forgetting that Angelina Jolie was in the movie. Like, she'd come back on screen, I'm like, oh, that's right. One of the biggest, most recognizable movie stars in the world is in this film, because she would just disappear, as would other characters, just disappear for 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
And then you'd remember that they were in the movie. And it was all very, I thought very one note. Like, everyone was very glum.
Yeah.
They all talked very glumly to each other in underlit rooms, and then a few seconds between each sentence, and then someone else. And I love big heady sci-fi. I love Dune.
Right.
Like, I'm the guy that 2 weeks ago I sat through almost 3 hours of Dune and I said, yes, please, I'd like some more. So it's not that I don't like sci-fi or length or whatever. It just, this didn't quite do it for me.
Yeah, and it's funny because I did think about Dune a lot during this, and it was just like, man, they're going after the same thing as far as scale and ambition and everything. But for some reason, even though this looks very eloquent and it is kind of calm and tempered in its pacing and everything, and you can tell it's not like just, I mean, it does open with an action sequence and you can kind of feel the mandated stuff here and there, but at the same time I was just like, oh, this is a very different approach to an MCU movie from what we normally get.
Right.
And that's probably going to turn a lot of people off who are coming to this expecting another MCU movie. But I was like, again, I really liked what it was trying to do, but then did it execute it successfully? I don't know. And I just...
There's a path to telling this story in an entertaining way. And I'm the guy that's usually on the MCU for being samey.
Right.
And that's what I've liked about their TV stuff so far.
Yeah.
Is they had the license to sort of step outside of the cookie cutter. And this, you would think, would be, I would think would be me, and it's one of the reasons I was excited for this movie, sitting there going like, oh, this is something different. This is a change of pace. But it's it can't just, that's not enough.
Right.
It's not enough that it's just different. It has to also be engaging and interesting, and none of the characters really grabbed me. I didn't really feel anything for these characters. They were just sort of there, and there was a couple that at times I'm like, okay, I thought that Brian Tyree Henry was really good in this movie. He was the closest to a classical Marvel character that you would find in this film. But it felt like the movie kept sort of dragging him down. Same with Kumail Nanjiani. Just, I think you could have had the Richard Madden glumness, but also have the Kumail Nanjiani happiness. And there's a little bit of it there, but it seems like the movie's trying to ground all of them.
Right, and I think that is where my inner conflict comes from, is that it is trying to be something different. It is trying to not just explore a different facet of this universe, but actually feel like a different type of movie. And yet, because it doesn't necessarily do it successfully, I'm like, oh, you're so close. But you're right. Like, there were parts of Nanjiani's performance, and I was just like, oh, this is fun. But then in the third act, not to spoil too much, but what you were talking about earlier, just disappears for a stretch and then shows up again, and you're like, oh yeah,
he's in this.
What happened to you?
Yeah.
Were you just not available to shoot that portion? What? And it's almost they felt like they could get away with it because there are so many characters. And yeah, you're right. It kind of focuses on Richard Madden and Gemma Chan, and I mean,
and then a rotating series of they all get 15 minutes.
Right.
We're going to talk about this character now.
Yeah.
But they never really bring them into a.
And even Sprite, who's kind of the third wheel.
She's the closest they get to sort of integrating into the team, but if
but
they
I
had,
still
yeah.
I wasn't, and she was a character I thought I was gonna that might be the Rocket Raccoon or something, and kind of steal the movie away or something, and it just didn't land for some reason. And I wish there was more for Kumail to do. I wish there was more for Brian Tyree Henry to do. Barry Keoghan, I thought his character, and specifically his powers, all these powers are kind of stuff we've seen before. A lot of people have compared them to a lot of DC superheroes' powers, which they kind of call out themselves.
It's the era. I mean, that's
it is. But I wanted to know more about Barry Keoghan's character and stuff like that, and we just didn't. It's so spread thin, even at 2.5 hours, that it just did. Yeah, I was never as invested as I felt I should have been in the story or the characters.
And they, I think it's partially because they do this thing, and a lot of movies do it, where they're like, it's almost like they're afraid to tell a linear, conventional narrative. So it's like, we're going to jump around for the whole movie, and it's like that works for some movies.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it worked for this movie, and it's because there's and for the exact reason of we're an hour and a half into the movie, and you're still introducing main characters.
Yeah.
Like that are going to be very consequential, and not in a way of just like, oh, this character enters Act 2, like, Javier Bardem in Skyfall.
Hello, James.
Like, you're not going to introduce him in Act 1, obviously, because he's the villain. He comes in Act 2, but these are Act 1 heroes,
Right.
That the movie's asking you to build affection for, but they're shuffling and losing them and introducing them late, and I just feel like structurally there's so much work that should have and could have been done with this movie.
Yeah.
At the writing phase, and then directing wise, I just really think there should have been some modulation in tone, and then in the editing phase, I think you could have tightened it up a lot. I don't know. There's a lot of improvement. It's not a terrible movie. It's just not a very entertaining one.
That's the thing, and I guess I should make that clear. Like, I didn't hate it.
No.
Like, I admired it. I don't know if it's one it's definitely not one I'm going to revisit. Like, a lot of these Marvel movies, you kind of find yourself like the rewatchability factor is pretty good with most of them. But this one, I appreciated it, but I'm not gonna, it's not one I'm gonna pop on to watch in the background or to have play in the background anytime soon.
Yeah, I think it's my new, things change. Well, I'm obviously fresh off this screening, but right here today, I would say this is my new least favorite Marvel movie. Yeah. Only because I think it does a lot of things better than some of the, Thor: The Dark Worlds and others like that. But at the same time, I found those movies to be more engaging because I thought they had better characters and more of a coherent storyline. And this was very beautiful and very meditative and nice.
I wonder if in 5 years, like, given what happens in the MCU from now, again, that shouldn't impact how you feel about this as a thing unto itself, but in 5 years, will there be more meaning in this? Will time make me appreciate a lot of what was going on here more? Maybe I didn't see some of the things that were being put in place. But again, like, taken as itself, I don't know. Like, I want to like it so much more because I do love sci-fi, especially like you're saying, like heady sci-fi. And there are some they say family a couple times, and it just rings to mind Vin Diesel.
This time it ain't just about being fast.
But I think there was more going on with that, especially with like time and how fleeting it is and kind of the stuff like that. But I don't know. It wasn't prominent enough to override the issues going on here, like you said, from the ground up.
Well, and there's even this idea of like, do they even really know what they're going for? Because there's, they have this movie, and then sort of what they're promising, as we all know, there are things that happen after. And I found like the thing that they were talking about after the movie was like a totally different tone.
Right.
It was like, it's like if you had, a sequel that was like Dune, and then the sequel to Dune is going to be like Spaceballs.
Gun is made first class, Philip asshole.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Hey, wait, and it's like, do you even really know? Are you just kind of saying like, let's see what happens?
Right.
And that's sort of what I was worried about the most with Marvel post Infinity War, the Infinity Saga.
Right.
Is, are they really going to have a good grasp on what they're doing next? And I don't think they do. Because you've got this and the multiverse and like different versions of the multiverse.
Right.
You have the Loki, and then also whatever's going on in Spider-Man, and then I almost wish they had sort of done Endgame and said, we're going to take 2 or 3 years. We're going to map all this out. We're going to get our Fantastic Four in line and Blade and everything else, and we're going to sort of start fresh.
Right.
But it seems like they're just like, we got to keep going.
Yeah.
We got to keep going. We got to keep going. And
yeah, it's funny because when I saw the Shang-Chi trailer, I was a little worried about that movie, but then I saw the Eternals trailer, and I was like, oh, this looks intriguing and fascinating and everything. But as far as like how I feel afterwards, like I liked Shang-Chi was just more entertaining, but even if it kind of devolved into the typical Marvel thing, and this was trying something new, it's still like it's funny. I don't know what Phase 4 is doing. I don't know where it's going, but always curious. But yeah, Eternals is definitely I don't know. It feels like a big segue.
It does, and I mean, look at what the Phase 3, and I know that Marvel, to their credit, this wasn't exactly the order that it was supposed to happen,
True.
but this was still their lineup. Was post Endgame, we've had now a flashback action movie, a character origin story, which is very much into like mysticism, etc., and now a big, heady sci-fi, Jack Kirby Cosmos movie, and now we're going, but then now we're going back to Spider-Man and the heroes
right,
and and not only heroes from, and villains from this universe, but the ones that you watched 20 years ago are come, some of them at least. We know Doc Ock is coming back, so it's like, I don't know what they're doing. I guess they're just gonna try it all, and we'll see what happens. This was,
I think what's first up next year is Doctor Strange. I think.
This was a bit of a failed experiment for me. I hate to say, bit of a failed experiment.
It'll be interesting to see, I mean, I don't know how much of a positive it is to say in 5 years. I'm really excited to see how this fits into things. But we'll see.
It's unique. I'm very interested to see what the general, we're sitting here on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. It's open in previews, but as we go into the weekend, I'm very interested to see what people think of this, because the anecdotal evidence being the theater that I was in seemed very apathetic. Yeah. But who knows? Yeah. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're a couple dummies. You never know.
Totally possible.
Completely possible. It's happened before.
Yeah. What we typically do here is a star rating. We do out of 5 stars. Mm-hmm. So initial reaction rating. We will definitely preface it with that. What would you go for Eternals?
Hot take right now, probably 2.5.
Yeah. I was gonna go 3 because I feel a little bad about just going straight down the middle average, because I felt like I was really trying, and I love what I've seen from Chloe Zhao so far, and I'm I don't know if I expected more from her, or expected it just to be better by default because they got her to direct it, but I didn't feel her presence as much as I wanted to either.
It'd be weird what the expectation would have been if the schedule had stayed the same and this had come out before she won the Oscar, like it was originally supposed to. And I wonder if that's, it was late in the year, as the Oscar campaign would have been going on. I wonder if the expectation would have been different if it were pre-Oscar instead of oh, you won Best Director and now this is your first movie, even though you didn't plan on that, and Marvel didn't plan on that, but that's how it is. Yeah.
Well, so that's initial reactions to Eternals. Definitely a lot more to chew on and think about, and I certainly will see it again, obviously, when the next phase of Marvel comes around. I'll probably put this on to kind of refresh the memory, especially depending on where they take things from here, but otherwise, thank you for being here, for talking Eternals with me. I really appreciate it. And,
my pleasure.
Thank you to the Movie Tavern for letting us see the movies here, shoot the show here. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That way you get a notification every time we upload a new video. We try to do that every week. We do a review of the biggest release. So thank you for doing that. Thank you once again, Dan. And we'll see you next time. Peace. This fart is?
I do all kinds of farts. Wet farts, dry farts, grandpa farts. Sometimes I poot, and sometimes I shot. Wet farts, dry farts, chunky farts, shots.
Hey, you're good. Still keep going. Keep going.
Ready? Oh.
One more. And go.
You like that?
And one more.
Chunky one.